That is beautiful.
Yeah, so that is the artist, Lacey Jordan.
Oh, what's her name?
Lacey.
Lacey. Okay.
Yeah, Lacey
Lacey
Jordan.
Jordan.
Yep.
I love this. Oh my gosh. Okay.
Good morning and welcome for those of you who are joining us via live stream or for those of you who are in the room. My name is Jabari Paul, and I am very proud to lead the activism work for the U.S. at Ben & Jerry's. Thank you for joining us today for the unveiling of our newest flavor. Our newest flavor is being released in support of the People's Response Act that aims to transform public safety in our country by addressing ways to improve mental health services, increasing funds for preventative care, and investing in programs that address the root causes of inequality. If you're wondering why an ice cream company cares about public safety or the passage of this legislation, the answer is simple. We care because we believe in the power of business to impact positive social change in the world. That's why what we've always tried to do over the course of our 43-year history as a company through both our corporate activism work and as prescribed by the social mission of the company that is a part of our three-part mission statement. In recent years, the corporate activism work of the company has focused on addressing racial inequality and supporting activists and groups working to improve the plight of Black and Brown people affected by the U.S. criminal legal system that is maligned by institutional racism. That's why 5 years ago, we came out publicly in support of the Black Lives Matter movement. And a year ago, we called on the previous administration to adopt policies and make changes to help dismantle white supremacy. This is also why we are so very proud to be here today, rolling out a flavor in support of the People's Response Act introduced by the Honorable Congresswoman Cori Bush. We are so very thrilled and feel honored that Congresswoman Bush could join us here today, who will be our next speaker on program. Now, with this room and those who are joined us on live stream, I'm sure she needs no introduction. But just to say a few words about the Congresswoman, she is a registered nurse, a fellow member of the clergy, and she is a community activist representing Missouri's 1st congressional district as their U.S. representative. We thank her very much for being here, and I invite you to the podium.
Thank you. All right. Good morning. It's absolutely an honor to be here this morning. It was not even a dream of mine to have something like this happen. It was just way out of my view. And so this is amazing. I'm absolutely honored. Again, I'm Congresswoman Cori Bush, and absolutely excited, still stunned to be able to do this today. This amazing artwork behind me is just a testament to the work that we started years ago, more than 7 years ago, and the work that we continue today. Thank you to Ben & Jerry's and to the movement for Black Lives for your continued partnership in this justice work for this movement. Um, I'm the St. Louis Congresswoman, and I'm proud to be the St. Louis Congresswoman. Um, to be someone whose work was born primarily out of the Ferguson uprising. I'm proud to be that person. I walked into Congress as the politivist. I'm not taking off the Ferguson activist as I do this work. Everything I do, everything that I've done is for St. Louis. And it was with St. Louis in my heart that we introduced the People's Response Act earlier this year, understanding that that work that we started during the Ferguson uprising, that had already started to move beforehand, continues on. But this work has to affect the entire country. Where I'm from, we're sick and we're tired of dying. For decades, our communities have suffered under the violence of intentional disinvestment and underfunding. Our healthcare, our education, our housing, our green spaces, all left in shambles, while our police spending per capita continued to increase to its present level as one of the highest in the country. St. Louis has invested time and time again in criminalization, and the results are deadly. In St. Louis, the police have led the nation in killing civilians for 6 years straight. Even we could even go back a little further. A study released just last weekend found that Black St. Louisans are more than 4 times as likely to have force used against them by police than white St. Louisans. Nine out of every 10 civilians who St. Louis police pulled a gun on was Black. 9 out of 10 people that they pulled a gun on was Black. Our communities have been hurting. We face gun violence on a daily basis. It's not safe for many of our children to play outside. And we understand where that comes from. It's not because the people are inherently bad. We know that this goes back to systems that were not meant to lift us, systems that were not built to help us. And so these numbers back up what we've known for a long time. When Black people call for help in St. Louis and in other places around this country, we too often don't receive a just response. But that is just the start. These data are much worse for those experiencing a health crisis. These data show us what we've been screaming for such a long time, that across this country, people with untreated mental health disorders are 16 times more likely to be killed during a police encounter than people without mental health disorders. And nearly 1 in 4 people killed by law enforcement officials have had a mental health disorder. Our current approach to public safety is not working. It's not, and we know it. So what do we do about it? Do we continue to talk about it? Do we have meetings and collaborate and sound great to one another while we're talking about it, or do we move? The People's Response Act writes a new future. This bill makes it clear that public safety is a public health issue. We are safe when our communities are well funded, our people are housed, our children have nutritious meals, when we have excellent schools and green spaces to play in. To address public safety, we must invest in the things that make our communities healthy. We're creating a new division within the Department of Health and Human Services that is empowered to invest in health-centered approaches to public safety. We're creating a unit of federal first responders, unarmed health experts that are culturally competent to answer the call for the mental health and substance use emergencies that happen. And we're investing in the community, those organizations that have been on the ground, that have been long doing the work of keeping our community safe, those groups that we know. Because well-funded, healthy communities are safer ones. And when we are in need of help, we need to ensure the right responder answers the call. The numbers just came in on the People's Response Act. Polling from Data for Progress found that more than 3 in 4 Democrats and nearly 60% of all voters support this bill. This just confirmed what we already knew when we called this bill the People's Response Act. It's incredibly popular. As we work in the halls of Congress with a mandate to save Black lives, it is imperative that my colleagues understand the urgency we need to act in the face of this crisis and with the understanding that the people are demanding this change. Why fight it when our work is to save lives? Today's event is yet another example of the momentum that we have to pass this legislation and to start saving lives. I'm committed to continuing to do this work with my colleagues in Congress to push this across the finish line. Because when it comes to saving lives, when it comes to saving people, when it comes to the dignity and safety of humans, we cannot wait. So thank you again. Thank you to Ben and Jerry's. Thank you for Movement for Black Lives for your continued work. And shout out to my sister, Monifa. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. Thank you again to the Congresswoman, and we assure you that we are committed as well. Our next speaker on program is Monifa Bendele, who is a part of the Movement for Black Lives leadership team and serves on its partners policy table. We are happy to be collaborating with the Movement for Black Lives to push for the passage of the People's Response Act. If you're not familiar with Monifa, she is definitely someone who I recommend that you get to know. In New York, Monifa is a member of the Malcolm X grassroots movement and sits on the steering committee for the Local Communities United for Police Reform. She has more than a decade of experience helping to build movements, working with groups like momsrising.org, the Brennan Center for Justice, and the People's Hurricane Relief Fund, just to name a few. We're so very thankful that Monifa is here with us. Please welcome to the podium, Monifa.
Peace, everyone. Good morning. Before I get started, I wanted to just say from, Movement for Black Lives, from the 150 organizations that represent our network, I want to take a moment and pause and really give our champion in Congress, who not only understood the mandate from the street, not just last year, but 7 years ago, and moved into Capitol Hill with intention and with bravery. Have y'all seen such bravery in Capitol Hill? So let's give it up again for our Congresswoman Cori Bush, because we know it's not easy. We know it's not easy. And I want to thank Jabari, because you will never see the Movement for Black Lives working really closely with a corporation like this. But when you have people also, again, who are inside, who are dedicated and really intentional about the same goals that we have, then we can collaborate, right? Then there is trust, but that's also a level of bravery. So I wanted to point that out, because we have known, those of us that have been doing this work for decades, a lot of people will call you on the phone or on the side and be like, yeah, I support what you're saying. That sounds right. It'll never happen. I can't jeopardize my office. I can't jeopardize my job to come forth and support it. And so this is a new day. So I want to start just by saying that I am here as a community organizer representing the Movement for Black Lives. It's 150 Black-led organizations from around the country. And we are at this moment now because there are organizations in cities on the ground that have created the conditions for us to even have this conversation, that have created the conditions for us to even draft a piece of legislation this bold. And we have 2 of those organizations in the room today, right? Because we don't go to any city without notifying our comrades and saying, we need to show you to show up so we can shout y'all out. So we have Harriet's Wildest Dreams, Harriet's Dreams. They work to reallocate 911 calls for non-police crisis response The new program currently piloting is between 6 a.m. and 6 p.m., but will be 24 hours, 7 days a week in 2022. That's what we're talking about. They did that. Harriet's also secured a $30 million cut in the Metro Police Department in the 2022 budget. The mayor introduced Building Blocks, a program to redistribute millions of dollars to nonprofit organizations, anti-violence strategies using a public health approach, just what our Congresswoman said. So when our Congresswoman is debating this bill and they say it can't work, that's you're dreaming, this is la la land. She can say, well, no, because my sisters in Harriet's dream did it, and here's the blueprint, and we know it works. We also have our Baltimore comrades in the House, Organizing Black. And they secured a $22.5 million police budget reduction for fiscal year 21, helped establish a 911 diversion program pilot to redirect non-law enforcement for most mental health dispatch calls to trained mental health professionals. Shout out to Organizing Black. These are the two in our area right now where we are on the ground, but this is what we are leading around the country. And when we sat down a year ago to create a legislative love letter to Black people, we called it the Breathe Act, right? It was because we knew our comrades were moving those types of ideas already on the ground. So thanks again, Harriet's and Organizing Black. We do this for a deep love of our people. In our tradition, we always shout out our ancestors. We're doing this for Tony McDade, Roxanne Moore, Sandra Bland, Michael Brown, Eric Garner, Freddie Gray, Breonna Taylor, and so many more. But when I read through the People's Response Act, and it is so beautiful, I think about one ancestor in particular in my hometown. His name is Muhammad Ba. Right? 8 years ago, Muhammad Ba's mother called 911 for an ambulance because he was having a mental health crisis. She said, I need help for my son and he needs care and I need an ambulance. But instead, in the Bronx, New York, the police came and they killed Muhammad. And Hawa Ba, for 8 years, has been fighting for responses just like what is written in the People's Response Act. She's been saying that for 8 years, almost 9 years. We're almost to the anniversary, the 9th anniversary. So this is the labor of activists, of mothers, of dedicated folks on the ground who are going to be in defense of Black lives and make sure that our children can pick up the phone and get the care that they need. Whew. I think the only other thing that I need to say up here is that this is a mandate. Whenever we go and meet with our legislators, they talk about all the other priorities that they have on their desk. I said, which one of those priorities had 26 million people in the streets last year? Right? Which one of your priorities had highways shut down all over the country, train stations? Which one of your priorities had international mobilizations in support of the 25 million people here on the street in every continent on the globe? Which one? So how is this priority below those? This is a mandate. We want to thank not only Ben and Jerry's, but everyone who steps up in defense of Black lives. Jabari said, y'all keep pushing me. It's never enough, right? But that's because nothing is ever enough for our people, right? We want the best. And so thank you so much. Thanks for having us. Thank you, Cori Bush. Big shout out to Harriet and Organizing Black.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Monifa. And we are now going to ask you, I could think of no other person after that powerful speech to ask to unveil our pint. By an amazing Black woman artist who we'll talk about in a moment. Ladies and gentlemen, may I present to you our newest flavor, Change is brewing. So I'm so excited to be able to share a little bit about this amazing artwork and this pint that you see before you. Change is Brewing features delicious cold brew coffee ice cream with marshmallow swirls and fudge brownies, and will be available in pints and in scoop shops. The flavor supports the vision of the world in which every community is safe and everyone, including Black and Brown people, can thrive. Change is Brewing also embodies our commitment to racial equity and invest in Black-owned businesses with ingredients from the coffee company Black and Bold, includes brownies from our longtime partner, Grayston's Bakery, and the beautiful pint design that so many people have remarked on is by a Black multidisciplinary artist named Lacey Jordan. A portion of the proceeds from the flavor will be donated to grassroots groups working to transform public safety in America. Thank you very much for coming. This concludes our press event. For media who are here, there will be an opportunity for photo ops, as well as there will be spokespeople available for a brief time after the event. If you'd like to arrange an interview, please talk to our PR director, Laura Peterson. And I encourage everybody to grab a pint of Change is Brewing on your way out the door. Thank you very much for coming.